Miami International, Okeechobee, Florida, USA, and www.wrmi.net.
MI, Radio Miami International, Okeechobee, Florida, USA, and www.wrmi.net. Send us your comments and reception reports to info@wrmi.net or to WRMI, P.O. Box 526852, Miami, Florida 33152, USA.
News and current affairs on RFI. Listen to Paris Live every day from 04 hours to 08 hours Universal Time. You can listen to us 24 hours a day on english.rfi.fr.
It's 1600 hours Universal Time, 5 p.m. here in the French capital. You're listening to Paris Live PM. It's Monday, the 18th of January, and you're very welcome to this program of news, analysis, and special features here on Radio France International. I'm David Coffey, coming up in the next hour. As U.S. Democratic Party candidates for the presidential ticket face off for the last time ahead of the Iowa caucus on February 1st, we'll be going to our for reactions to last night's heated debate. RFI's Jennifer Bacodi will be taking a look at the significance of China's President Xi Jinping's first trip to the Middle East tomorrow, where he's expected in Saudi Arabia, Iran, and Egypt. So can China adopt a balanced approach in diplomacy and business across the region? The trial of Giulino Calupeteca, the leader of a Christian sect in Angola, begins today for the murder of 9 police officers who died during an operation to arrest him in April of 2015. We'll be investigating the background to this affair and the claims that security forces massacred over 1,000 members of the Luz de Mundo sect during that raid. Also coming up after the half hour, we'll be going to our studios in Lagos to RFI's Hausa service to discuss how Nigeria's President Muhammadu Buhari has directed the country's EFCC anti-corruption agency to probe 17 top-serving and retired military officers for diverting funds that were meant to help equip the military. The sports news today will be with RFI's Jan van and in the last 10 minutes today we'll have Spotlight on France, which looks into a new law that came into force on January 1st. That means large restaurants here, serving at least 180 covers a day, must now separate out their organic and non-organic waste for collection. So stay with us here on Paris Live PM. First, it's over to RFI's Angela Diffley for today's main news stories. Angela.
Thanks, David. Iran has ordered an increase in oil production of 500,000 barrels per day as it moves to take advantage of the end of sanctions following the green light given by the United Nations nuclear inspection body. The IAEA confirmed on Sunday that Tehran had complied with its obligations under the accord reached in July, and the US and the European Union are now lifting sanctions. The boss of the IAEA today arrived in Tehran for talks with President Hassan Rouhani. Under the deal, Iran must downscale its nuclear program and submit to closer surveillance. Yesterday, US President Barack Obama welcomed the IAEA announcement that Iran had complied with its obligations.
This is a good day. If Iran tries to cheat, they try to build a wall. So the bottom line is this: whereas Iran was steadily expanding its nuclear program, we've now cut off every single path that Iran could have used to build a bomb.
US President Barack Obama. However, despite warming relations, there is still considerable tension between Washington and Tehran. The US Treasury on Sunday imposed new sanctions on 5 Iranian nationals and a network of companies based in the United Arab Emirates and China in connection with Iran's ballistic missile program. Iran's foreign ministry today said the new measures were illegitimate and insisted the missile program had no links with the nuclear issue. At least one person has been killed and another has been seriously wounded after a rocket fired from a jihadist-controlled area in Syria slammed into a school playground in Turkey. The local governor's office in the town of Kilis, north of the border with Syria, said a female school cleaner was killed and a schoolgirl suffered injuries necessitating an operation. Greece's President Prokopis Pavlopoulos on Monday accused the Turkish border authorities of facilitating people smuggling by turning a blind eye to the trafficking of thousands of migrants to Europe. He told this to a German daily. In Niger, the government and United Nations staff have moved 99 schools to safer zones out of harm's way from Boko Haram jihadists who attack from neighboring Nigeria. That's according to the United Nations today. The program was launched in November and has enabled nearly 6,000 pupils to resume their lessons. The UN Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs in Niamey. It's just been announced by the French presidency that the Cuban President Raúl Castro will meet the French President François Hollande here in Paris on February the 1st. Hollande, of course, travelled to Cuba in May and was the first Western leader to visit the country for more than 50 years. And here in France also 5 soldiers have been killed in an avalanche. This as they were training in the French Alps. According to police sources, they were among a group of 50 soldiers who were skiing near the resort of Val-Fréjus. And the richest 1% of the world's population now own more than the rest of the world combined. That's according to statistics from the aid agency Oxfam, provided today. That's it. I'll be back on the half hour with a further news update.
And my thanks for that to RFI's Angela Diffley, who will be indeed here with us again in about 25 minutes' time. And you are listening, of course, to Paris Live PM. Democratic presidential candidates held their final televised debate last night before the first votes for the primaries are cast in the state of Iowa on February 1st, with frontrunner Hillary Clinton saying she's ready to take on the world's hardest job as she squared up against her main Democratic rival, Bernie Sanders. Now, the pair, along with former Maryland Governor Martin O'Malley, met in Charleston, South Carolina, and were aware that their performance could be the best opportunity to reshape the Democratic nomination race ahead of those Iowa caucuses in 2 weeks' time. Clinton wrangled with the leftist Vermont Senator Sanders, sometimes intensely over plans for universal health care, gun control, battling Islamic State jihadists, and reigning in Wall Street. Her sharpest attack, however, against Sanders was her claim that he is weak on gun control.
I have made it clear, based on Senator Sanders' own record, that he has voted with the NRA, with the gun lobby, numerous times. He voted against the Brady bill 5 times. He voted for what we call the Charleston loophole. He voted for immunity from gun makers and sellers, which the NRA said was the most important piece of gun legislation in 20 years. He voted to let guns go onto Amtrak, guns go into national parks. He voted against doing research to figure out how we can save lives. Let's not forget what this is about. 90 people a day die from gun violence in our country. That's 33